What's up, everybody? Welcome to Presence of Mind, Cloud9 and Kaiser Permanente's mental health show we do each and every other Thursday here on twitch.tv/Cloud9. I'm one of your hosts, Greg, alongside Khalif. Khalif, how are you?
That's good, brother. How you doing? I'm doing all right, holding up, trying to get out of this Portland heat. It is hot.
I saw, we had a person write into the Kind of Funny podcast today saying they're getting married on Saturday and it's going to be 109 degrees.
I think you need to not get married on Sunday.
And it's an outdoor ceremony, he said. And I was like, sir, this is a bad idea.
I mean, you can do it. You just have to go through a slip and slide first, get wet,
Sure.
and then go get married. And then that
Well,
makes it
I think
easy.
even before the slip and slide, if you're getting married in 109-degree heat, you're gonna be wet no matter what. You're out there in the three-piece, you ain't dry. You ain't feeling it.
It's gonna be the fastest ceremony. Like, yeah, you like me, I like you. Yeah, we're married. Let's go. It's hot.
This guy here. He said
It's
20
too hot.
minutes. 20 minutes in the sun. No, thank you. No, thank you.
No, not even close. But good. I'm happy to see you and excited to rock.
I'm happy to see you, Khalif. And I again, Cloud9, Kaiser Permanente. We do this show every other Thursday, all about mental health in the gaming space. Today's topic, as you saw at the top, is the impact of social media on mental health. And I need to know, before we even introduce our guest, Khalif, how is your mental health after the most intense bludgeoning I have ever seen in an online beef when Paris Lily from the Kind of Funny Xcast and Gamertag Radio went on the Xbox showcase, the second Xbox showcase, and announced to the world that you can't cook with his customized Xbox controller.
It has been an interesting week, and I'm happy that the conversation around mental health and social media is this week after I literally got roasted in the worst way, best way possible. I've never seen so many people tell me I don't know how to do a thing in, in this life like I've had in the past, week and a half now. I've had people tell me I'm terrible at cooking at my job. I've had it come up in work meetings. I've had it come up. I'm about to have people just run up on me in the street and be like, Kai, you suck at cooking. Like, you're a terrible human being and don't know how to cook. So it was an interesting week to say the least.
Well, I want to talk about it, or in a real fashion, for real, about mental health.
Yeah.
But we should, of course, introduce the rest of our guests, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we always have some different people here on Presence of Mind. And this time, from Cloud9, we have Mateus and Arya. Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Yo, I'm good. What's up?
You guys are
I'm
coming hot off
great.
the stream. I appreciate it. I appreciate the
love
energy.
it.
I appreciate you being here. For those of you who don't know Mateus, Arya, Mateus, how do you describe yourself? Who are you? What do you do?
My name is Mateus. Some people know me on social media by Portillo. I'm currently the brand ambassador for Cloud9. I used to be the head of social media last year, but I kind of transitioned into this new adventure, and it's been cool so far. But I'm still doing social media stuff.
Sure.
Yeah. I think that's me.
How's the new adventure treating you? Like, what I guess at the start, what led to the new adventure? Why'd you want to do something different at Cloud9?
Okay, some people in the organization where they were like, Mateus, you're pretty good with like being in front of the camera, but also like maybe you can do some content because you're always like around players and doing stuff. And I was like, yeah, I mean, no, I can try something new. And we decided that I could move to this brand ambassador role. So I moved to it. In the beginning, it was kind of hard, but I kind of I got, like, I understood, like,
you got the vibe.
I got the vibe. So I'm doing that stuff now. Also, I'm still doing a little bit of social media on the side, but it's been good. It's a new cool experience.
Excellent. I want to hear all of this when we talk about the impacts of social media on mental health. But before then, Arya, tell me about yourself. What do you do here at Cloud9?
Yeah, so Mateus mentioned that he was, used to be head of social. So he used to be my boss, but now we're on equal footing, bro. Yeah, so I'm a social media associate for Cloud9. Just like Mateus does when he, messes around with social, living on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. TikTok is like my little baby. That's what I really focused on when I first joined as an intern. And yeah, just taking care of the day-to-day needs, whether that's covering games, making, writing social campaigns for, upcoming big projects that we have. And yeah, I'm a SDSU graduated last year, but finally got to walk this year. And I even streamed it. So that was really fun. But yeah, overall, just really excited. And I just hit my 1 year at C9 as well. So it's been a really, really awesome ride.
And it's one of those things, you had been interning at Cloud9, right? You'd wanted this for a while.
Yeah, so I was in my last year, my last like 3 months of school, and then in May, I saw C9 had these internship, job openings, and I was like, okay, like if I'm gonna get into esports, I might as well shoot for the top, and ended up happening, and I was like, okay, and I had a great internship experience for like 6 months, and then they were like, yeah, you're cool, I guess, you can come on full time.
Arya made a video, by the way. He was different from the others. He made a video why he should be an intern for Cloud9. What's his application? He put a YouTube video out there.
That's great. I love that kind of stuff.
And I assume, Mateus, that made him stand out.
Yeah, that's what made him stand out. That's how we chose him. And then we had the interview, of course.
So, Mateus, how did you jump on the squad? How did you jump onto the Cloud9?
Ooh, how do you say that? Like long story short, something like that, right? Like TLDR. Yeah. I was working for Immortals in Brazil in 2016, and then I moved to LA in 2017. They got me a visa, but I stayed here for like a month and a half, and then I made a tweet, and I got fired by doing this tweet. Yes.
What was the tweet?
And it was TLDR again. This guy, this player from CS:GO, he tweeted, "You prove it, or I'll K-word you to other player," and he was like, he deleted the tweet, but it became like a meme in the community, in the CS:GO community. People talk about for a long time. So Immortals had to do something about that. So we made a statement, we posted a video, we figured everything out. But in the same day, one of the Brazilian CS:GO players for SK Gaming, he was like, I think the 5th player is gonna be this dude. And I was like, I replied to him with the Immortals account saying, "Oh, you prove it, or ... I didn't say that word. Sure. I didn't say the keywords. And people thought it was funny. People thought it was unprofessional. Got fired. 15 minutes later, Jack, CEO of C9, he hit me up saying like, let me know if you want to work at Cloud9. And people from the Immortals did this tweet right here that I'm but like with Immortals, because people know I got fired.
Sure.
Pretty dope story.
Yeah, not a bad story. Not a bad story. You jumped right on it. And that's, I think, part of the wave of social media, right? For what you're doing, right? I feel like for people who don't know in our industry, right? Like social media managers have so much responsibility and so much weight on their shoulders, but maybe not so much ranking on the totem pole. And that's not me putting down your position, but it's this idea of you're the voice of this company, right? And so in a split second, you are expected to respond as the company, and it is coming from a personal place of you think this is funny or this is what you get, but then you have how many bosses above you that are like, well, hold on a second, that is not how we would respond to this, and that's not what the situation was. So it's like, I can only imagine, Mateus, you sitting there at any decision trying to decide like, I think this is great, but is it going to get me in trouble? Is that accurate?
Yeah, like at some point, I feel like as a social media, sometimes it's like common sense, or sometimes like you gotta do your best judgment. And I decided to do that. I thought it was funny. I mean, like we fixed the situation, right? I mean, the time was not the best, but I still thought it was funny. I just wanted to bring people's smiles,
Sure, of course. Yeah. And now, Arya, you get to wrestle with that fear every day of whatever you're going to tweet about for Cloud9.
Oh, man. It's a very real thing, especially for me, because I came in with no experience. Well, like very little esports and social media experience. So, I mean, Mateus can vouch. Everyone else on the social team can vouch. I asked like a million questions a day just to make sure that I didn't mess up anything.
Sure.
Because I was so nervous and so new. And so I was kind of thrown into the fire a bit, but I feel like I like that, pressure, and it makes me do better. So it was really intense, but I think I've got it handled now. I'm definitely not as filled with anxiety as I used to be when I was an intern. I would be so nervous just to make a post saying, "Hey guys, we're playing today." And now I just do it like, all right, make the Photoshop picture, throw it on Twitter. It's just like
automatic.
Yeah, exactly.
How long did it take you to put your first post out? Were you just like finger on the button like the meme, just like, I don't know if I want to hit that button right now because I don't know if it's gonna freak out everybody on the planet?
Like quadruple checked the post to make sure I didn't make a spelling error or anything. And even then, I had the like mouse cursor on the tweet button just ready, and I was just staring at it like this, like
Sure.
just like, okay, like everything good? I triple checked with everyone on the team, like this is good to post. Super careful, but finally got it out and it was fun. I don't remember the first tweet I did. I assume it was just a normal, like probably game coverage tweet.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're playing today.
Spitfire.
Yeah, maybe Spitfire or C9, but like it was nerve wracking. But I feel like I've come a long way since then.
God, do you still get that? I mean, do you? I mean, I know that Spawn
Sure.
on Me is you, right? But it is
Yeah.
bigger than you. Yeah, I mean, you're, the founder, obviously the owner, all that jazz. But it is bigger than you, and it carries a weight now in the industry. Do you get hung up on the weight of what you're trying to do or say?
Oh yeah, I just botched a tweet 10 minutes ago. And I'm seeing the responses to the thing because I forgot to add the other layer to that part of the conversation.
Oh, is this the thing we were talking about before?
Absolutely. People
Told you what was going to happen. I told you what was going to happen.
You totally did, and I'd watched it anyway. This is the reason why you are so good at your job. I think one of the things that I think about often is one, yes, the more visibility you wind up getting, the more pressure there is to kind of make sure that your tweets and that the ideas that you have are sound. I think that the other part that I think about often is I think about the way that social media works. And I don't mean that in a kind of nuts and bolts way, but I mean in a kind of the ethos of what people kind of do with social media and how the idea that, I'll even use the thing that I just said as an example. Most folks know that I'm a pretty easygoing person on the planet in general. And I think that over the course of the time that I've been doing this work, that I've been pretty even keeled and have reasonable thoughts on the internet. And people will snap at the worst idea around you or around a thing first, which I always found to be really interesting as a human to human element thing, where I'm just like, you know who I am for the most part. Like, people kind of get me, but people will quickly kind of flip that thing. And that's a weird part of the impact of social media for the work that we all do, which is, yes, you have to really be thinking about, the impact of what you do, the stature that you have, but also just the way that people interpret things is a really interesting part of the conversation that I don't think anybody really has nailed yet. Because it keeps continuously changing in the way that people kind of come to it with their own biases and all that kind of stuff. So it is wild to see how the people kind of roll with that stuff.
I feel like such a big struggle with it, right, is the fact that I agree. I know you're an easygoing guy. And so I know when you make a tweet or make a joke or when you're beefing with Paris or something like that, like I feel the complete picture of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I struggle with it personally. I shouldn't say I struggle with it, where it's like, I know exactly who I am and all the parts that make me. And so when I do a tweet, whether it be a serious of a social issue going on that I want to talk about, whether it's me reviewing a video game, whether it's me just horsing around, like I know that all makes me up. But the problem is, and this is something I still wrestle with this day, is that the audience doesn't know me as that whole thing. To somebody in that audience, I am only the guy who reviews video games, so it is weird for me to do this. Or I am this, guy who is a clown, so why should I be serious on this issue all the time? And it's been interesting, even this past week. On Monday for PS I Love You XOXO, we announced that Jana Garcia is going to come in and be the co-host while I'm on paternity leave coming up in the fall. Yep. And that was great and well received, and people are really excited about her. But of course, people have opinions about her as a character on a show they watch. And it was interesting on our subreddit, a thread went up that was, "Congratulations and welcome to the family, Janet. This is amazing." And people came in there and not even being, some obviously are a jerk, but not even being overtly jerks, most of them, and just being like, "Hey, she's not for me," and yada yada, and I don't like X, Y, and Z, and I don't agree with her on this game, kind of thing. And then other people were like, "Why are you doing this on a congratulations thread?"
Right.
And then the people who were doing it were like, "Where else would I talk about her performance?" And it was this weird thing of, I was watching it unfold, and as I often do, I want to let the community talk unless it's getting into a very bad place.
Sure.
But it was this idea of like, oh, like, there's clearly a group here that is with us where we call our audience best friends. And we're making this content with you and we're hanging out with your friend on the couch. And there's that audience that's like, I get that. And I'm with you and you're great. And then there's another part of the audience is like, I'm consuming this like I consume television, and I don't like this programmer. I don't like this performer, and totally taking, not thinking of it the way we think of ourselves as human beings who see every tweet and every comment and everything and go, yes, I'm taking all this in. I'm not, and I'm not getting paid what Conan O'Brien gets paid, or whatever. It's like, and I'm not meeting huge Hollywood celebrities and traveling the world. And like Conan O'Brien can get to somebody can be like, he sucks, I don't care, his show is going off, and Conan doesn't see that and doesn't care because he has millions of other things going on. Where in the microcosm, it's so hard to balance that. And I think that's what we're talking about. We're talking about social media and mental health.
Yeah, and I think that the interesting part about all of it is just how we are managing, managing all of it in real time on multiple platforms all the time, which is the reason why I'm so happy that we have, Arya and Mateus with us, because the thing that I'm always thinking about, especially for folks who are in it like as hard as you both are all the time, and you need to be on all the time to make sure you're checking stuff and checking sentiment and checking all that kind of stuff. When you're working for a brand, you have that double-edged sword of trying to balance out your own personality and all those things that go behind it while also speaking in brand voice all the time. How much conversations are you all having with the brands themselves, not the brand, but with Cloud, to say, this is what we want the energy to be around our platforms on these particular places? Like, what's the conversations that you're all having that way, so that you're both in sync when it comes to how you're all tweeting and sharing out information?
Oh, you want me to go?
It's up to you, bro. I can take it. You can take it. Let's
well, I
what do you want?
Your answers,
I think I always found this together, but okay. I think for Cloud9, since I think from the brand, Cloud9 is known as an organization that is like family friendly, super funny. They always super receptive, like welcoming. They are a serious organization with competitive players that play in tournaments, but at the same time, they're super like kind of always have fun on social media. So I think like this voice that we bring on social media is something that we've been passing to our social media managers for the past, 5 years. Like, C9 is a brand that does like this, and this. I know like sometimes it can be a little bit different. Sometimes it can be super serious. Sometimes it can be like, depending on the person that you're engaging with, you can change how the conversation goes, like the behavior around it. But I think that we have a standard that we're always just that brand that is always going to be around. It's always going to be super entertaining for people. And that's how people know us. Right, Arya?
Yeah. I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. I think most people that follow esports, and especially follow C9, know that it's not going to be some super serious standard procedure tweets or responses that you're going to see out of us, whether it's for covering a game or just making a meme. Like, we're going to try our best to be funny and entertaining, and we have boundaries, obviously, but I think it's important sometimes to test those lines and to see what we can do as an organization to keep it funny, but also see just how much our fans really understand us from the tweets that we put out. And I think everyone that is on the social team and that works with us understands the brand of C9 and like the vision that we really want people to see us in. Like, we want people to see us in as lighthearted, funny, can be serious when we need to be, but for the most part, like kind of like goofy and like can easily make light of ourselves and crack jokes at ourselves and have fun with everyone. And I think everyone inherently knows this, not just on the social team, but also everyone at C9. Like, every single person I've met in the company is so laid back and just chill and down to earth. I have never met anyone that is just so deadpan, super serious, can't take a joke in the company. So it's really awesome because the culture is just so ingrained within the company as well. And that culture is also reflected upon the image that we give off on social media.
So how do you, right now, Arya, since it's your position right now, how do you walk that line then when you're being fun, lighthearted, trying to be the brand part of it, but the community's coming to you with questions they want answered that aren't necessarily as lighthearted? How do you go back and forth with that?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just it's kind of like people say limit testing, like in league, like you're testing what people will call you out for and not.
Sure.
And we've put out tweets before that people are like, this wasn't funny, or this was a little out of pocket. And when we see those comments, we're not just like ignoring them. We're as a team getting together and we're looking at these comments like
It's a feedback.
yeah, exactly. Like we take it as feedback and we're really looking at it like, okay, was this really something that, we kind of dropped the ball on, or is this something
Out of line,
yeah, out of
here.
yeah, like when we're posting a meme and then the overall feedback is just like timing is poor, this is a bad tweet. Like we really sit down as a team and we analyze like, okay, like what did we mess up on here? Did we just read the situation poorly? Did we think this was a good time and it just wasn't, or too early, too late, stuff like that. I think the great thing I love about working here and the people on my team is that we're very like collaborative and communicative. So we're always constantly talking with each other to figure stuff out.
Well, that's got to be so helpful, I guess, right? Because again, for mental health, right, and what we were talking about before, of having that brand on your shoulders, if you can distribute the weight, and it is like you're talking about, a meme is poorly received, but you guys go back and you're like, well, this is an effort between all of us. It's not, this is something you screwed up.
Exactly. Like when I first started, I really felt the weight of putting out a tweet, like I mentioned before, because it's like C9 has 1 million followers. There's a chance that 1 million people and more, it's Twitter, everyone can see it, right?
Yeah.
Could see this tweet. And if you're making a meme, technically you're trying to be a comedian. You're trying to make people laugh and, at your tweet. So when a tweet doesn't do that well, and you just see someone in the comments go, this is cringe. It was hard for me to like, separate. Yeah, exactly. It's like, I thought it was all right. It's hard to separate in the beginning, especially for me, since I was new, that the comments on the C9 brand account are not comments directed towards me.
Ooh, that's powerful. Yeah.
It was a really hard lesson. And I don't think I've completely conquered it yet. And I know Mateus and I have had this conversation a lot, but, I've really learned to separate myself from stuff that, people are saying in, the comments, not saying that I don't take feedback or criticism, but when someone's coming at, me for like a bad meme, I'm just like, okay, like this wasn't a great meme. I'll use it. I'll come up with better stuff next time. I'll work on it. Right. But I've learned to not take it personally, because that's really like the hardest part, I think, of working in social media, is when you see fans are upset and your job is to stare at Twitter all day. You constantly, like, it's hard to, you start unconsciously thinking that those comments are actually towards you. So it's like, yeah, go ahead.
Mateus, he was talking about this being a conversation between you two, that you guys go back and forth, and obviously he, stole your old job. Talk to me about that. Yeah, how did you have to come to that realization too? How did you come to that realization? How do you teach Arya about that?
I think when C9 was had a social team where we had only 3 people, it was much visible that other social people were like taking too much, like too personal,
Interesting.
Because sometimes, I mean, most of the tweets were made by like 2-3 people, and when the third person was not available, it was like 2. So like it's basically you and the other person. So when you post, it's kind of like it is personal,
Totally.
And I felt that like there was one day that I came into realization that I cannot be sad with comments that I see towards the CNN account. And I'm gonna give this example that I'm talking about. When we parted ways with Sneaky, the dude that's been in C9 for like 9 years or something, we had so many negative comments, so many bad words being told towards players, staff, organization. That was like terrible. I hate thinking about it, because I was the person that made a farewell tweet. My colleagues made a video that was like a farewell video, and it got so many bad comments. And when I saw all those bad comments, when I saw so many people talking that kind of stuff to C9, I started crying in the office. I was like, this is not good for my mental. I can't be like matching the business with the personal. And like that was a turning point, I think, for me, that like I gotta start working on not having a comment being directly to me, and it's to C9, but at the same time, like, I love my job, I love C9, so like it's like that little thing, it kind of hurts, like But we talk about this. We started talking about this when Arya came in, and I was like, Arya, whatever you do, don't be afraid, and also keep in mind that the things they're gonna put here is your job. People are not gonna be talking those negative comments or bad things to you, towards you. But also, like, when things happen, we should take all as a team and sit and talk about it, because that's how we're gonna like be better, you know.
Did you all build strategies around that? Because that's super hard, right? Where you're, you take one of those moments where that like emotionally hits you. And it sounds like an incident that didn't happen really before in the space, at least in your group. When you were kind of thinking about like, so what's the next step that we can get through this together and build some good ideas around, if this happens again, how do we want to tackle it? What was the conversation that you all kind of had during that moment? Was it, let's talk to the heads of the company to kind of shield us? Like, what were the conversations that were there?
I don't think with Arya, I don't think we have something super bad around Cloud9 in his time, but I remember that like I made a tweet on the Spitfire account, which got a lot of engagement and traction. It was pretty bad. It went on Reddit, and you already know what happened on Reddit. People just,
if it went to Reddit, that's not
what
good
it is.
That's not good.
So I think that like that specific moment, we sat down. We were like, look, me, the social media manager, my manager, Jack, CEO, like the president of C9, then we all sat down. We were like, okay, look, we got to fix the situation. What happened here? What happened there? Unfortunately, like if we got to make a PR statement or not, sometimes you got to make an apology because of the things you said. Sometimes when PR disasters like this happen, you got to like sit with your team and just discuss it. But when these things happen, I think it's just like, you just got to, depending on the company, I feel like you just gotta sit down. They gotta sit down and talk about it, see what the person went wrong. Because I know that some companies, they're like Immortals, like in the past, they're like, look, you're out, and there's not. What is the feedback you get from that? I don't think there's anything that you can learn. Yeah, what did I learn by doing that? I cried for hours, and I don't think I learned much from that. But when I made a tweet wrong in the same account, because like people, social media managers make tweets all the time that like went bad. You just gotta like see what it went wrong, talk about it, just hold yourself accountable, and also that's always a good experience for you to share with your colleagues, because you don't want them to do that, right? So
yeah,
it's just like a mistaken thing, like not mistaken, sorry. Doing wrong things are always a learning experience. That's how I like to put it.
Yeah, and that's a great way to put it, right? I think that's I've seen it at so many other things, right? Where the social media is speaking for the brand, but obviously there's so many other people who are the brand, and then social media only gets the feedback from the rest of the company when they screw up. It's never that you really nailed this thing or everything's working as it should, right? It's when there's a bad tweet and it's what are you thinking? Like, why represent us that way? Yeah, or that you get fired like that. And that's the struggle of all this. I can only imagine, Arya.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like Matej said, I hadn't, I don't say I haven't seen anything that's on the level of like the sneaky thing that Mateus brought up, but there are things that pop up here and then that I would say, I don't know if Mateus did when the social team was only 3 people, but I would say now for sure, like we really do work really great as a team, and when we see something's going down, like, oh, this is not a good look, or something's happening that like is going to impact social media for us, like for sure, we're really, I think, good at getting together and talking about it and seeing what the next steps are, which I think is really great.
Does that shake down through the Cloud9 team? Like, do you identify stuff and then have to reach out to players and be like, hey, if you see this or hear this, like, are you aware of it or avoid it, or this is what's happening?
I think managers do a really good job of taking care, like as far as letting players know to be careful of something. Our managers do a really great job of letting them know. when stuff is going down that is involving them, or maybe people are saying stuff about them.
Mm.
And obviously, like, we'll let managers know too, because we're kind of like the front man. We're seeing everything that's going down on the timeline. And yeah, we'll usually let them know, like, hey, just want to let you know that this is happening. Just be aware. Um,
The
it's
potential
fine
things
right
that
now.
are gonna come out from this,
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
people are gonna talk stuff, like
Yeah.
it happens.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm curious about that, like, too, because I know that, like, the strategy sessions of getting everyone together to say, like, all right, we see this is about to come down, and we want to prepare you for that kind of stuff. What's been the response from the folks who are seeing that, who know it's coming for them? Are you finding that they have strategies to kind of help combat that stuff for themselves? Is it like, all right, everybody, get your notes app out because you got to do this apology real fast. We know what's coming. Or is it a thing where you're kind of thinking about the holistic idea of, like, these are human beings, we're going to let them run as much as they can, and then if something goes wrong, we'll kind of pull them back in and kind of coach them on it? Is there, like, social media coaching that's happening from the social team across with the players, or is that the thing that the managers are doing?
I think when you gotta analyze, I think you gotta like always first analyze the situation, and it depends on like how catastrophic that was. You gotta like make serious decisions. I personally never seen a social media like made a bad tweet, besides me, made a bad tweet and got fired. I always seen like people that like were super apologetic on Twitter, and I don't know. I don't have much experience of like super catastrophic things, but I guess it's just like, I don't know. Arya, did we have a catastrophic thing? No, right?
No, I don't think so. I
It was
think
just like, no, go
yeah.
ahead.
To answer your question, Cleve, I think player like I think at least for our players is that they I mean, I don't think anything's happened, insane, like crazy recently, but when players are something's big happening within the scene and games are being played, and there's a drama going on, I think they do a really great job of taking a mental break away from social media and staying off. I know a lot of our players usually like to take breaks and just not look at stuff, because you're a player. Like, people are. It's just like any other sport. If LeBron were to go and miss an open layup for a game winner,
People are gonna be there
it's
calling him
going to
out.
be said on Twitter, Reddit, everywhere, right? So they have a good idea of what's expected to come, and they're prepped for that. And I think they understand that as players. But in the case that something does happen, we also do give warnings, be like, hey, this is happening. Just in case you don't want to look at all these negative comments, just take a break, do your thing. But I don't think we've actually ever had to say that to a player. At least I haven't, because they're actually so mindful of knowing when they want to take breaks and not look at social media, which I think is really important. I work in social media. I have my notifications off. I'll throw my phone across the room and go and just relax, because I think it's really important to take breaks, because being constantly connected can just feel so tiring. Even if you're not
It's exhausting.
Yeah, even if you're not responding to anyone, just seeing you're getting notifications on Twitter or anything, you feel some kind of weight on you. And when
it's the anxiety, right? You're missing. You're not doing something you could be doing, and that's used to be. You'd have different reasons for that, especially when it wasn't work from home or whatever. You could have your commute home. You'd have that transition out of it. But the fact that so many people moved over to working in the same place they live on the same, how many times have I made the joke, or my wife made the joke of, like, you shut the laptop, you're like, all right, time to reward myself for some small screen time from the mid screen before I look at the big screen. You know what I mean? Like, you're constantly connected, and it's so tough. And so it's so powerful, Arya, that that you need to shut it down and you need to walk away, because that we talk about on this show all the time of how do you help your mental health, and so much of it is finding the tools that work for you. And if you haven't found those, of course, ladies and gentlemen, we talk about each and every episode. Findyourwords.org. You go there. It is a toolbox of helpful things, both if you're struggling with your mental health or if you know people who are struggling with mental health. You can go to findyourwords.org, find a whole bunch of different suggestions for helping yourself, helping others. Something we always talk about putting in your mental health toolbox. And number one, I think, Khalif, is knowing when you need to stop and step away.
Yeah, you just have to figure out times to turn it off, and it's really hard to do. It's extremely, especially if you're like you own the account. It is 10 times worse because you're just like, I need to be tweeting a thing, or I need to go do this, or I need to go do that. So taking time to actually step away from things.
I went on a walk the other day for the first time in like a while. I need to get better at it, but I went on a walk and I came back. I felt like I evolved as a human. It was another level.
Yeah.
Look, in my 4 years, almost 5 of social media, I think at the end of 2020 was a place that I could see like, okay, I need to disconnect so I can feel good about it. You know, I made a post on Twitter one day talking about like how my secret in esports was and being on social media, and it was just like I always wanted to be the best, and I screen recorded my monitor, my tweet deck.
Yeah.
Because when I used to go to bed, I couldn't check all the things that happen on social media, right? So when I woke up, I used to watch all the 9-hour video, the 8-hour video, like just fast forward and seeing what people talk. Because, I was too focused on my job, but at some point I was like, this is too overwhelming for me.
Totally.
I'm literally social media when I wake up, social media at lunch, in the afternoon. And what am I going to do if I'm not working social media? I'm going to check social media. So it's like, and
go ahead, Mateus.
No, I was just going to say, and the thing like that made me realize it's just like, when I'm like out of work, I just don't have to check social media, right? I'm just like, you know what? Don't do story mode, go on to the gym, go eat, go hang out with my friends, etc. But like being on social media and having it open the entire days in a long con is terrible.
Yeah.
It would be like 2 a.m. and I would see a C9 response or retweet, and I'd be like, that's Mateus. Like I would bet my life that is Mateus.
I wanted to engage with people from Europe, like I'm always trying to like do stuff.
The dedication is unmatched for sure.
Over in the kind of funny games chat where we're also co-streaming this, Hip Albatross 23 says, absolutely, we all think we wear the red cape and we have to take a breath and look at ourselves and know when to take a break. Sometimes it's even too heavy for Superman to lift. And I think, again, that is such a profound statement that everybody needs to learn at some time. And I know it incredibly well, both from social media. I remember the old days when I used to respond to every tweet and it was possible, right? But as I grew, that became impossible, but I still wanted to do it. I remember responding to every PSN message. I remember the list goes on. And there was a powerful moment for me personally of early with Kind of Funny, where I was talking to Nick, who's one of our co-founders, and he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm trying to get through every one of these emails. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm answering all these emails. And he was it sounded cold, but he was so right of like, just because somebody emails you doesn't mean you need to respond to it. Like we don't owe them that. Like we don't, that's not, and this is both PR, this is fans, this is everything that comes to your inbox. He's like, you don't need to do that. Like that won't ever happen. And so now it's so hard for me, but I still do it of like somebody, it's, one of the 15 fan podcast requests that come in. And I'm like, if I even stop to answer you, I feel like I need to answer everybody. So I just need to archive this and move on, because we've talked about how we're going to eventually do the fan podcast day. Like it's rough and it sucks and it's not who I want to be, but to keep the train rolling and to do what my actual job is, I need to be able to prioritize that. It's crazy.
Can you help me find the archive button? I don't know where it lives.
Just that little down arrow on Gmail.
I don't know how it works.
The archive button.
I don't know how it works.
I used to like not take days off. That was the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Like, if I don't have day off right now, like I'm completely out. It's terrible. Because like last year, like 2 years ago, I was always the person like, no, it's fine. I'm not gonna burn out. I don't need a break. But now I realize that, and still like Arya can tell, because I sometimes when our boss is like, what day off you guys want? I'm like, it's fine. It's okay. I don't need that.
He'll
And-
literally argue. Like, dude, take your days off.
If I don't take days off right now, it's my mental just goes like really bad. And you
Sure.
know, I learned that taking days off, like not having days off, is not a flex. It's just like, bro, you need a break. Everyone needs a break.
Yeah.
From work.
You would think it's like easy to understand. Like, yeah, of course you should take some time out of work to, rest. And you think it's so simple, but you just get so obsessed with the idea of needing to be in the know of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like a little bit of FOMO, because it's like, if you're not on Twitter, then you're missing out on stuff.
Exactly.
And it's like, if I'm missing out on stuff, I'm not cool. When that's not true at all. Like, take a break.
Well, part of it too, especially for you guys, right, is like seeing something happen and being like, oh, that's not, like on the Cloud9 channel or the Twitter, and be like, oh, that's not how I would have done it, or I wouldn't have done it. It would have been more successful if we did X, Y, and Z. And I think, in my own career of, having employees or whatever, like that's the tough part, right? Of like, all right, cool. Like, and it's also for me of seeing them do something that not the way I would do it, a headline I wouldn't make, a thumbnail I wouldn't make, but then also not being that on my vacation, I'm going to fire off an email about that. Like that can wait for me. That's done. That can wait for me to come back and we can have a conversation about why I think this is a better choice or whatever like that. And trying to find that balance is so difficult. Believe it or not, we're already running out of time, but the question I want to get for both of you guys, we'll start with Mateus. This is an audience question that got submitted. All right. What would you recommend to fans who love to engage in this Cloud9 community, but want to protect their mental health? I think this is something we've talked about you guys. We've talked a bit about Cloud9 players, but from an audience perspective, what's their healthy form of engagement for you and them, Mateus?
Like the question is like how players can protect their mental health. And
No, how the audience can.
Oh, how the audience.
Yeah. What do you recommend to fans who love to engage in this Cloud9 community, but want to protect their mental health?
I think, of course, I'm not gonna be cliche and say like, yeah, you take breaks, don't check these things out. But I think it's healthy when you are trying to find like a kind of content that you really enjoy, and you try to enjoy like at its best, but also at the same time, trying to. It's hard to like block all the negative comments, but I feel like put maybe a limit in how much you're putting your time into something, because like the more time you spend on the topic, like in a community or in a stream, like you're gonna start seeing a lot of non-positive messages, and it's gonna hurt. And sometimes like, bro, I'm just trying to enjoy my time, I'm just trying to have fun with these people, with this stream, and it's tiring. I think I don't want to be like take breaks, but I think
but take breaks.
take breaks, reduce like a little bit of uses of social media. It's like I love watching Skara, for example, and I love Skara's community. Sometimes there's so many, like not many, but there's a few dumb comments, and I'm just like, bro, do I really enjoy seeing this? And it's hard because I want to keep watching the content, but at the same time, I'm not enjoying what people talk about,
Yeah, you have to know that again and turn it off, step away. Like that's okay. That's okay to do, right? You want to support Cloud9, you want to be a part of any community on the internet, but yeah, you can not engage and you don't have to go off and defend anybody and go crazy in the comments, right? Like,
and you don't need to, you can't be like those people that are like stans, I think they're called like that, which is like they put way too much effort in supporting a community or a streamer. I think there's like a balance that you can always just have between engaging a community, engage with a streamer, with a player, with an organization, anyone. I think there's a balance that you need to have, because like that's social media, but at the same time, it's just like how do I say this? You probably like. Man, I'm missing words.
You're good, bro.
You're doing great. You're killing it.
You got it.
But like, I just don't think people should be stents. That's what I'm.
It's definitely that argument, right? Of like, obviously, you can be way too negative and be a complete jerk, but you can also be way too positive and have the similar effects as somebody who's being way too negative, right? In terms of repelling people from the community you're trying to promote.
Yeah, like you can support anyone, but don't put too much effort, don't put too much weight on that, because it's like it's gonna be like kind of negative for you, and the people surrounding you.
Sure.
By you.
Arya, what do you got for me?
Yeah, I mean, I like Matei said about the stands thing. At least, it's great to be a super fan of stuff, you know, and to really enjoy things. But I think, you know, there is a limit, and not just for your, you know, the community, but for yourself. You know, you have to take care of yourself first. And I think being a fan and wanting to be engaging in the community is great, and I think that's amazing. But personally, like, you know, I work in social media. I'm a part of C9. I love C9. Even then, I have my own notifications off for my social media, for my own, you know, mental health.
Sure.
Because it's just so overwhelming sometimes, especially because, you know, if you're a big C9 fan and you have, you know, Twitter notifications off or Twitter notifications on, we post a lot. As you know, we post as much as we can because, you know, we're a brand, we want to entertain our fans and keep people engaged with our account, right? But that can get really overwhelming because every 30 minutes, every 20 minutes, you're seeing that there's a C9 tweet coming out, and
Sure.
you're checking your phone and you want to click it. And the business side of me is like, Arya, stop talking. But, you know,
keep looking, keep gaming, keep looking at it.
Exactly. The mental health side of me really wants to be like, listen, you can be a great fan, but you don't need to be obsessed and
Sure.
and have that harm, you know, who you are and what you're about.
Exactly.
So what I like to do is I like to turn off notifications, especially when I'm done with the workday. I'll throw my phone on my bed. You can clearly see it's not made right now, but throw it on my bed, go out for a walk, and just really just disconnect, maybe have some music, or just disconnect from the world and just feel like this weight off my shoulder. Whether you work in social media or not, I think everyone can relate to the idea of feeling this kind of weight and pressure when you're on Twitter and you're looking at all these amazing, successful people around you on the timeline. And life's not like that. Like, you know, people will always post their dubs on Twitter and Instagram because they want to be happy and they want people to be happy for them. And that's completely understandable. I do the same thing. But it's like I was telling Khalif earlier, it's not all sunshines and rainbows, you know, like it's everyone has moments in their life where they're going through rough patches, and whether they post that on social media or not, it's everyone knows this, right? But because you're constantly on social media, you just kind of unconsciously think that everyone has this perfect life of just happiness, only posting the most successful moments of their life. And that's not the case at all. You know, everyone's going through stuff.
Most powerful thing somebody ever told me about that is like social media is a highlight reel. You don't
Exactly.
usually see people's struggles. I mean, a lot of people do share them. I'd like to try to think we all round it out, but even still, 98% of what you see is the look at this great video, look at this great guest, look at this cool thing I got, look at this cool adventure I'm going on. When there is a huge amount of time where they are probably laying on the couch in their underwear looking at TikTok like we all are. That is what happens, right?
Yeah. Think about my past week. That was nothing but a full L just on the timeline, all over the place.
Of course, ladies and gentlemen, this is another episode of Presence of Mind. You can still go to findyourwords.org, though. Expand your mental health toolbox. And if you need even more than that, of course, there's the Presence of Mind Helping Others interactive video. The interactive video is out now. The chat bot is linking to it as we speak, but you, of course, can find it at findyourwords.org/presence of mind. You go there, you walk through it, you watch the video, you learn some mental health tools like I'm talking about and things that can help you. And also, though, completing the video will earn you a 10% discount to the Cloud9 store and a chance to win one of 5 C9 HyperX accessory bundles, including a keyboard, mouse, and mouse pad. You may enter the giveaway up to 2 times. Like I said, you go there, you watch the video, you get in there. It's all about getting to the root of supporting friends, family, and others in the community who may be struggling, and how to promote safe and welcoming environment and speak honestly about personal issues. You'll also hear from others in the gaming community about their experiences, learn about helpful resources that are available, and get tips to approach sensitive topics with others, which is, of course, what we're trying to do with this show, but we're not here all the time, just every other Thursday. So please check that out. And of course, once again, let me remind you that you should check out a COVID vaccine. More than 160 million people in the United States have received at least their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. The available vaccines are safe, effective, and life-saving. I have it. Khalif has it. Do you guys have it?
We're done. We
Hell
got
yeah,
it.
you do.
I got my card here.
Oh, look at that.
Oh.
If you're 12 or older and you haven't been vaccinated, you can text your zip code to 438829 to find a free vaccine near you. In many locations, no appointment is needed, and you can even get a free ride there and back with Lyft or Uber. Check it out and get vaccinated as soon as possible. Let's put the pandemic behind us. Mateus, Arya, I'm sad to put this episode behind us. You've been great guests. Thank you for hanging out.
Thank you so much for having us.
Khalif, it's always a pleasure to hang out with you as well. I'm sorry that Paris destroyed you.
I'm here.
Day by day, you're hanging on.
Presence of mind to turn off my phone this week. That's what the presence of mind was for me.
Ladies and gentlemen, of course, this has been Presence of Mind brought to you by Kaiser Permanente and Cloud9. Of course, we will be back not next Thursday, but the Thursday after that, because this show happens every other Thursday. So until then, it's been our pleasure to serve you.